How's it going, everyone? Hopefully you're doing well. Welcome back to a new series. Now, in this series I'm going to be going through a tank per episode. It's going to be once a week, every Thursday, and we're going to be talking about weak spots, how to kill it, whether you need premium ammo for certain points, and if you can get through it obviously with standard ammo, where you can pen it with HE and stuff like that. Just everything you need to know about that tank and how to kill it effectively. Now, a lot of people complain, especially free-to-play players, that they have to use HE, and I just think it's a pathetic excuse for not firing just gold at a weak point and you'll pen every single time, because even if you're free to play, if you hit and pen and do damage with your gold rounds, you're not going to lose that many credits. So, of course, as the title suggests and as the thumbnail suggests, the first tank is the 279E. Now, here we are in tanks.gg, what I would suggest everyone to use if you actually want to look at the armor model of tanks that are in the game. Straight away you're going to see this is with standard rounds, 258 pen. It is not looking good, is it? You're just not going to pen it. This tank requires you to fire gold if you want to pen it frontally like this. However, if you do fire gold at this thing, it becomes a lot easier to pen. The only time that it's a real problem for tier 10s and tier 9s that have around 330 and 340 heat is when it's above you. Because if it's above you and it uses all its gun depression, which is about like that, it's a little bit dodgy to deal with, because even with 340 heat, you're going to need about 350 to reliably go through it. There is this tiny little lip here, but even that is 300 millimeters thick. So you're not always going to even hit it, let alone pen it. The cupola is very small when it's at its full gun depression, but I mean, what are you going to do? The good thing is that if you're in something like an E100, and let me go and get one quickly. If you're in an E100, you look at it like this and think, yeah, we're not penning this. However, you're slightly taller than it, so you can actually just go and face hug it, and then if you just press 2, yeah. And even if you want to use the small gun on the E100, the exact same thing applies. Let's go and use that. Even with standard rounds, you can see it's about 50-50. But fire premium, you're going to go straight through. So if you're in an E100, just face hug it. Yeah. Like, if you're in anything that's taller than a 279E, just go and face hug it. It will get very annoyed at you. Because you will be able to pen it pretty much every single time, and I mean, he will be able to pen you, of course, but the 279 doesn't have like 4k DPM. It's relatively balanced in the gun department. It's also got a bit of a derpy gun sometimes. So yeah, if you're taller than it, shoot down on it and just face hug it. If you're firing at distance, of course, it's going to be slightly, tricky, especially on just pure flat ground. But like with any tank, really, in nowadays world of tanks, you're not going to be able to just pen it at distance unless it's made of paper, because RNG is a thing and weak spots are not going to be able to be hit all the time. But go for the cupola if you can. Even if you're face hugging it, you might want to go for cupola. Although if he does turn his turret from side to side, it's going to be a bit of an issue for you. But yeah, if you're face hugging it, load heat and just go straight through it. Even if you're in something like a 277. If you load heat and face hug it, I mean, all you have to do is really just go as low as you can go and just go through it. You're probably going to be roughly about this height on the 279. So yeah, even then you got a 70% chance of going through it. Also, if he decides that he wants to try and side scrape for whatever reason, just punish him, because as he goes and side scrapes, all of this becomes very easy to pen, especially right at the very top here. You want to make sure you're not aiming down too low, but anywhere around this area here, you can just pen. A lot of 279 drivers will go around the corner like this, and then face you like around like here. So the rest of this is just blocked off, and then there's not really much you can do apart from hit the cupola. The right cupola is of course a lot easier to hit than the left because it's slightly bigger. But yeah, there's not a lot you can do if the wall is like in line with this. However, if he's obviously over angling it just go and shoot him there. Even like an IS-7's a 50-50 with standard rounds. If you are taller than it, just go up to it, face hug it, and just shoot down on it with heat or premium rounds. Everyone should be carrying some form of premium rounds, even if you're free to play. You should at least carry like 12 on you, depending on the tank, of course. But around, like, let's say a 277, like, carry at least 12, and then you can deal with tanks like this. Alright, so now we've actually had a look at the armor model in Tanks GG. That's all well and good. Let's now go into a training room, and I'll show you just how easy it is to pen this tank. Okay, so here we are in game. I've got Silent to help me out, and we are going to show you just how easy it is to pen this thing, or not so easy it is to pen this thing. I'm in the 430. We have 252 pen, which is considered quite bad overall. As you can see, there's slight ways that I could pen it. There's just this tiny lip, but even then, you're not going to be able to pen it. Like, it's a 50-50 there. Even when it's side scraping, because obviously I showed you in Tanks GG, it's around 250-ish around here. I mean, there's a guaranteed pen there, but it's not really too common that they sit that far. So around here, sure, it can pen. It's about 50-50 though, whether or not this pens. However, when you fire heat at this thing, intuition, beautiful perk. And let's just say we go and face hug it. Like, yeah, the 279 is taller than me, but I can just go like this and just keep going backwards and forwards. And even if he's fully face hugging me, it's about a 50-50 here whether or not I pen. To be fair, it's probably even more than that. But if you want the best chance, then you'll just go back a little bit and just go around about there. It's pretty easy to pen a 279E as long as you have around 330, 340 heat. Especially with 340 heat. Because if you're using AP, like, sure, you might be able to pen it. But, like, you're just wasting your time shooting around here. And the Cupola, yes, you can hit it quite easily at shorter distances like this. Don't go for the left one. You might as well go always for the right one. Also, you can, I'm not saying you should, but you can pen it with HE if you get lucky, but it's not really going to work. And now since the HE buffs as well, shooting at a 279 with anything really, like 41 damage with HE, you're not really going to be doing much to it. And no, you can't just splash underneath it. It won't work. Alright, so what about something that doesn't have as good pen? Something like the Kran. Well, 252 pen on the standard rounds, even if we're using, you know, APCR, we can still actually pen it like 50-50, roughly. But honestly, if you're going to go and face like a Kran with APCR, just don't. You might as well just load heat and go and face hug it, because even though the Kran's heat rounds are only 300, I've shown you, if you're taller than the tank, you can easily pen this thing. Alright, so now that we're loaded, let's try that again, shall we? And we go here, 1 into him, 2 into him, 3 into him. And the 279 is not feeling so good anymore. So, yes, it is not an impenetrable tank. Yes, you are going to have to spam gold at it, and a lot of players don't like that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to lose that many credits as long as you're penning your shots. As I've said a million times, it doesn't matter if you don't have a premium account. It doesn't matter if... I only have 12 here. If you're penning 10 out of the 12 shells, or even, hell, like 9 out of the 12 shells, you're doing fine. Like, you're not going to lose that many credits. And as you can see here, even from, like, distance, with the Kran with 300 heat, it's a 50-50 here. It's more like a 40% chance, but you could do it. And, yes, you can go and pen the front of it, which is around about 50-60%. This is around about 280 millimeters thick at this type of angle. So don't ever aim for the turret, right? Unless this is the only thing you can see. Yes, you might get lucky and go straight through it, but most of the time, just aim here and you will kill it. Okay, so finally, let's talk about the E3, shall we? And if you are in a 279E and you meet an E3, run away, because your armor is not very good. Even if you're firing AP rounds, it still has more than enough pen of 293. Sorry, 295? 295. Yes, it says a 50-50, but like, let's be real, it's more like a 80% chance that you're going to pen, or 60, 70, around there. So yeah, even with these type of rounds, and if you get slightly off angle from an E3, like this, as you can see, green pen marker right there. Don't go too far down, because obviously it's going to start to bounce if you go further down, because you're just going to hit the sides. But anywhere along here pretty much is almost a guaranteed pen. Now I'm just going to tell Silent that he should go up on the top, and then I'll show you just how kind of dodgy it is when this thing is above you. Okay, so I've told Silent that he should go and try and be very, very annoying to try and hit. Now, as you can see, with AP rounds at this type of angle, it's just not going to happen. Unless you get a very, very lucky shot, like into the lip. Even then, it's going to be very, very hard for you to hit it. So, if you load APCR though, things start to change. Even with this type of angle, if you are facing a TD and he fires APCR, as you can see, he can still hit me perfectly fine. But I can pen him now with APCR. So, even if he's fully hull down, there's still a chance that you can pen it. You're not really going to pen it up here anymore. So your best chance is to go lower down when he tries to make a mistake, or if he makes a mistake. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to pen a 279E when he's like this. However, it's also kind of hard for him to shoot back at you, because he's not going to have infinite gun depression. And when he goes back, we get unlucky there, but you can pen it. Okay, so yes, we've spoke about the 279. There's just one thing left to do, just to show you why this tank should never see tier 8s. This, I would say, is about the average, right? This is like a really well armored tier 8, but it's about the average for penetration wise. It gets 198 pen on the gun for the standard rounds, and then 260 pen for the premium rounds. The standard rounds cannot pen this tank. It's even a 50-50 on the cupola. Like, what am I meant to do with that? I mean, I can't even... Half the cupola doesn't exist on this thing, because there's a machine gun, so it like looks like it's more than it is. But you still can't pen it. Like, if I go and face hug it, it doesn't really improve the situation at all either. I mean, what is that? And let's say that I fire premium. Yes, I'll be able to pen the cupolas now. Great. But let's be honest, the cupolas are not exactly easy to hit at longer distances. And if it's like this, even with 260 pen, I can't pen him at all. The only way that I can pen him is if he goes and, you know, tries to side scrape. But even then, I need to go way out wide. And it's not even a guaranteed pen then. The problem is, there are so many tanks like the 279, right? You saw the E3. E3 is exactly the same thing as the 279. I would argue it's more well armoured than the 279. This is a problem. And why we need +1, -1. Because tier 10, and even tier 9s now, are to the point where, if you're 2 tiers below, there's not a lot you can do, even with premium rounds. I'm just going to keep firing until I actually get a pen at this angle. But like, there's not really... What is the point of you playing your tier 8 premiums, you get tier 10, and then you come up against a 279 or a type 5, E3, even with premium rounds, you're not going to pen it. So, yeah. That's my 279 weak spot guide. If you're tier 8, good luck. Oh, look, we've managed to pen it. So, yeah. And I can't even... if I face hug it, then sure, it increases my chances. And yes, I will be able to get a shot off now and again. But I don't like these odds, really. Like, it just shouldn't be like this. Yeah. So 279. Complete bully at tier 8 because +2 is stupid. And at tier 9, as long as you have decent premium rounds, it's not really too much of an issue unless it's, you know, above you and really being annoying. And tier 10, fire gold, go straight through it, pretty much, unless, again, it's above you. That's the only real time that the 279 is a super, super big problem, is when it is using its brain and actually, like, you know, moving around and bouncing up and down and really trying to be dodgy and annoying. Other than that, like, you can just press 2 and go straight through this thing if it's on a flat ground or below you, especially if it's below you. And please, fire gold, because you're not going to pen this unless you have really, really good standard rounds and you know where to aim. So yeah. You'll be hearing that a lot if you don't fire gold. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It does all help me out greatly. And I will see you all in the next one. And it has a very, very bad standard pen of 252. But even then, if he's angling, let's say that he's trying to side scrape, I can still just go right there